can go ahead and get started.
Okay, great. Well, hello everyone. Welcome to this year's Undergraduate Research Symposium, and I'm happy to introduce Olivia Barnaclough to you this morning. She's a senior music therapy student from Cincinnati, Ohio. She's recipient of the Michael G. McGuire Scholarship in Music Therapy. She has just been offered a very prestigious internship at the Cohen Children's Medical Center in Queens, New York, which will start in September. And I now am happy to present Olivia as she presents her research.
Hi, everyone. Thank you so much for coming. My name is Olivia Barnaclough, and my pronouns are she, hers. And thank you for coming to my presentation of Music, Identity, and Expectation, an exploration of authentic identity in the midst of a pandemic. So just to quickly situate myself as both the researcher and participant in this study, I am 22 years old, I am a white cisgender female, I am an undergraduate music therapy student, I'm a voice major, I'm from the Midwest, I'm an out-of-state student, I'm disabled, and I also have a chronic illness. And I'm also currently wearing a black and white polka dot shirt with a gold necklace, a dark gray cardigan, I have collarbone length brown hair, and brown glasses. So the purpose of this research was to understand what my feelings were about this process of planning a senior voice recital given a pandemic. And this is also to help with reflexivity as a music therapist. To be a music therapist, it's really important to be able to reflect on your experiences and really acknowledge what is happening in the moment in your life and things of that nature. And so this was really the purpose of understanding for this research. So this is a snapshot of my literature review, and I chose 3 keywords of emotion, burnout, and music and identity. And so the first thing to look at is emotion, and this experience of having a variety of emotions that could be conflicting is a completely natural experience, and that these emotions are completely valid. There's no certain emotion that someone should feel in any given circumstance. And this was written by a hospice social worker who has been working throughout the entire pandemic. And then my next word is burnout, burnout is a psychological syndrome that occurs due to prolonged stress in the job. I think this can also be translated to being a student as well. And according to Maslach and Leader's research, there are 3 dimensions of burnout, which are overwhelming exhaustion, feelings of cynicism and detachment from your job or school, and a sense of ineffectiveness and lack of accomplishment in what you're doing related to your job or academics. And then my final keyword is music and identity, coming from Evan Rood's research, that all of us have had this feeling at some point that there's a connection between the music we prefer to listen to and the people that we are. And I think this also relates to the music that we actively engage in. This is the music that we perform, the music that we listen to, the music that we want to go to concerts for. This is all related to our self-identity. So my methodology was heuristics, which comes from Clark Moustakas. It is a self-study methodology that is focused on discovering the meaning of an experience that is completely unique to the researcher. And I used this because it is one of the best forms of self-inquiry. And I also used arts-based research. And arts-based research is really unique to the arts, that you can involve yourself in arts in order to reflect on your experiences. And I think this is really important for both music therapists and artists in general, because art is so incredibly personal. And so being able to use an art form to further inquire about yourself was really, really important to me and very fascinating during this research. So there are 6 steps in the heuristic cycle, and this first step of initial engagement, I was looking to research something related to emotion and performance. And then the pandemic hit right as I was developing this research question. And so, due to the emergent design of heuristics, this research question has actually been developing over the past year, and it took a while until it was really solidified. So then after this engagement of research question, I fully immersed myself into the research. I journaled about my experience as a music therapy student in the pandemic, giving this recital online. And then this also would include the recording process of the recital and the Zoom meeting that I had to present the recital. Then I had the incubation phase where I stepped back from the research. And incubation is to allow you to come back to the data with a fresh set of eyes as if it was brand new to you. And then an illumination is when these themes really start to present themselves to you and you really start to understand the thematic material of your data collection. So then I took a second return to immersion where I completely immersed myself in the thematic material. And I journaled, I danced because I have a background in dance from the time I was very little. I free wrote about the experience, I listened to my recital music again. And then in the explication process, I took my journal entries from that initial engagement, the initial immersion, and connected them to lyrics from my recital, free wrote about those. And then I really like concrete things, so I ended with a creative synthesis so I could have a tangible item of a collage to fully reflect on this thematic material and experience. So these were my findings. I had three main themes, the first being falling short of expectations, and my journal entry was from October 3rd. I said, I was really hoping this was going to be this amazing experience, but it's not. And I really had high expectations for the recital, and that was just something that could not be met through the medium of presenting it through YouTube videos. My second theme was this inability to accept acknowledgement, which relates back to the literature of burnout and that feeling of lack of accomplishment. And I have a journal entry that's from the day I presented my recital. It is so hard for me to take feedback from my family when they tell me it was a good experience. I feel as if they're obligated to tell me I did a good job. And so this was really relating back to that feeling of lack of accomplishment and inability to accept that genuine acknowledgement of my experience. And then my third theme was this idea of navigating space and proximity. I have a journal entry again from October saying, I miss home so much. I miss live music. I miss live audiences. I hate not being in person for VAR. I miss hearing my friends sing and giving them hugs, because during the pandemic, we've been balancing this idea of space and proximity. And as someone who lives 4 hours away from home, to be here and also not engaging in spaces besides virtual spaces with my friends was a really, really difficult experience for me. So this is my collage that I finished the project with. And some things to point out are the empty auditorium and this idea of navigating that empty space and that lack of proximity to others as a performer. Then this congratulations that's very jagged. When I saw this paper, I was like, yes, that's it. This flow of praise and acknowledgement that came at me was so difficult for me to handle that it felt so insincere. And that's a similar theme in this section of Hooray with barely getting by and the I'm sorry, as well as this picture perfect being sideways, because I had these high expectations for this picture perfect experience that was going to be this big thing and so fantastic, and that was skewed. And it still was a good experience, but you can say that it is not the experience that I would have had if I was able to present this fully as it was meant to be in the recital hall with an audience. So in conclusion, the more that I sit with this data, the more in depth the themes become. I could truly go into this topic for an hour, and the more and more you engage with the data, the more and more the themes will just unfold and redevelop. And that has been a really interesting part of heuristic research for me. I also learned that it is a completely normal and valid experience to have conflicting emotions about an experience. And this is especially the case during a period of burnout, which can occur due to something like a pandemic. I also learned that this experience has allowed me to recognize how to use the arts as a reflection of my own experience. And if that is through dance or collage or singing my favorite musical theater piece, I can use these arts based experiences as a form of reflection that will make me a better music therapist and a better musician. So, with that, if you have any questions, I would love to answer them. And I would just like to thank you for attending the Undergraduate Symposium. And I'd like to thank Dr. Merrill for guiding me through all of this research and this experience. And if you don't have any questions now, but you might think of one later, I will be on the Symposium website all day answering questions in the Q&A form as well as my email address. Thank you.
Thank you, Olivia.